What is up, YouTube? This is your boy Contracts with Chris back at you with a update video. Now, I spoke with my grandmother recently about the first episode of my flipping project, and she said something very wise to me, as grandmothers typically do. She said, "Sparky," what she calls me, "Sparky, I feel like I'm missing an episode here. We just kind of get dropped into the property, and I don't know any background info about the property. I don't know how you got it. It feels like we're kind of halfway through a series already." And I thought to myself, you know what? That is a very good point. So today I am going to remedy that and make my grandmother proud. I am going to tell you guys how I found this property in terms of my marketing technique. I'll let you know why the owner sold to me and give you some background information on how I got it at such a good deal. And lastly, I'm actually going to tell you about the numbers on the project, kind of give you the purchase price, expenses on for repairs, and the amount I expect to sell it for. And with all of that being said, hopefully you'll have a pretty good understanding of everything that went into getting this project, and it'll feel more well-rounded, if you will. So let's get right into that. Let's talk about how I got this deal. So I used a marketing method that involves texting lead lists to buy their house. So I'll basically purchase a marketing list of people. There's data compiling companies that will basically compile data, and there are certain markers on someone that will say whether or not they are likely to be able to sell their house or not before it goes on market. That's key. You got to find deals before they go on market. In this scenario, I start my texting software, and I get a response from a woman, and she says, "Hi, I'm not really interested in selling, but what's kind of your offer?" And me thinking, okay, well, she's not really interested, probably, just looking to get a number to see what her house is worth. I shoot her, a decent offer. I go, well, it looks like around 215 is what I could offer for it. I was really thinking like 210, but gave her 215, and she goes, "Okay, well, thank you." And this was like in December of 2021. So she said, "Okay, well, thank you." Turns out 3 weeks later, out of the blue, she texts me these exact words: "Okay, I'm ready to sell." Just like that. I didn't need to, put my sales shoes on, nothing like that. Just boom. So, okay, wow, it took me by surprise. I'd never had a deal like that. So I go, all right, wonderful. When can I go see the house? I set up an appointment. I go there with my contractor, who is now my business partner on this deal. We're splitting this deal 50-50. He puts up the money, or some of the money for the flip, and I put up the money to buy the house. Okay, so I go see the house, get the contract done, negotiate her down to 208. That's what I get the final number down. So I go from 215 to 208, $7,000. 208. Now, why would she be willing to sell that house to me? Because here's the thing: I had an appraiser go to the house before we actually finished buying it from her, and have it appraised. It was at that time worth 250, and you might be thinking, wow, so you got it 42K under asking price. Yes, and here's why. This woman had unfortunately a disabled child, and if you've ever sold a house before, you're going to have a realtor go in. They're going to be showing it all of the time, and she just did not want to put her kid through that, having to take the kid out of the house, and it was a huge stressor and headache for her. So this is where our service comes in. This is actually the best part of the job. So we get to help people who could not otherwise sell their house, sell it without any headache. That's basically our business motto. It's like, we'll buy your house, no headache, but you got to understand, we need it at a good price, right? And she totally understood that. She knew that she wasn't going to be able to show it to everybody in Houston and find the highest paying person, right? But she was willing to sell it to me because her and her husband wanted to go move to a farm up in Palestine, Texas. They were beekeepers. There were actually bees on the property when I went to go look at it. Thankfully, they took them with them because I wouldn't know what to do with bees. So they had that dream to go move, and they just needed the cash from their house. They bought the house for super cheap, like 15 years ago or something. So they were super happy with the number. We were super happy with the number. We helped solve their problem. They were happy that we could help them. It was a win-win for everybody. So this is your target customer, and I always tell people who ask me like, "Oh, but don't you feel bad marketing to people, like texting them?" Because here's how I look at it: for every 30 people or 30 to 60 people who I mildly annoy, there's one person who's extremely grateful and happy that I could help them sell their house, and that's truly is the best part of this job. So, with that said, that's how I got a good deal on the house. Now, the numbers on the house. Let's dive right into that. I'm going to put some numbers up as I speak, and so you guys can kind of visually see how much money is going to be made. All right, let's get into these numbers. I've got my trusty notebook here and my wonderful white background so you guys can see all the numbers. So we bought the house, like I said, for $208,000. However, we tell all of our sellers that are selling to us that we cover all closing costs. So I don't remember exactly how much we spent on closing costs, but it's around $213 is what we spent on buying the house. Okay. Now we have the expenses of the flip. So we will be fixing the foundation. We already have actually. Fully updating the front portion of the house, the current portion, building the addition, a 600 square foot addition, putting up a new fence, and putting in a new driveway and landscaping, and then a new roof as well. Now we are budgeting around $120 for all of that. Okay, so truly, I think our original estimation was that we would spend $110. However, I added an extra $10K as a contingency. So best case scenario, we spend $110. Worst case, we spend $120. Okay. And I talk about a lot of this in best and worst case scenarios because there's no certainty in this. This is all just projections, right? Okay, so that's expenses. Now, when we bought the house, we used a hard money lender. So I put down about $45,000 my own cash, and a hard money lender put down the rest of the money to purchase the house, and they're also funding the repairs. So the flip, the 120, is what they're willing to put into it, cash-wise. So with that being said, we have a 120 budget to repair, and we have for the interest on the hard money lender, we have $18,000 projected interest expense. So if you are calculating very quickly, you will have calculated that our expenses are around $138,000 for both of those things. Okay. Now you add to that the purchase price of $208 plus closing costs, $213. $213 plus $138 puts us all in at $351,000. There is basically 0% chance we sell for under $370. It would be insanely unlikely. We're going to be one of the nicest houses in the neighborhood, and a decent house in that neighborhood sells for like $351. Okay, so there's basically 0 chance we sell for $370, but at least worst case scenario, we know $370. What we truly are expecting to sell it for is anywhere around $430 to $450. Okay, so let's use a more realistic number, $430 as our estimation. So we have a sales price of $430. We're all in for $351. Okay, and then we subtract those. What does that give you? $79,000, and that's between myself and my partner for one flip. And I'm not managing the flip. My partner manages the flip. I just put the money down and found the deal. Okay. Now, best case scenario is we don't use the full 120, so we use 110 as our expense. So that takes off 10K from the 351, so that puts us 341. And we sell for, instead of 430, 450. Now, if you're doing your math quickly, that puts us at a total of 109 split between two people, which is a pretty, both of the numbers I'm totally happy with, but that one obviously would be a little better. So that kind of covers the numbers on the project and how we calculated it. Now, I do plan on going into detail in the future on how I calculate the expenses on the project, and it also helps that I'm working with a contractor on this. If you guys have any questions on any numbers I came up with or any strategies I've used, please leave a comment down below. I'd be more than happy to consider making a video about some questions, or even making a reel on my Instagram. Please check out my Instagram. It is at ContractsWithChris on Instagram. Give me a follow. I post reels on real estate investing strategy and things like that. But with all that being said, that is the numbers on the house and kind of a preface to episode 1 to kind of get you fully understanding what's going on with the project. And I want to give a shout out to my lovely grandmother for that advice. Love you. And for those of you who enjoyed this content, stay tuned. I will be posting more videos. Check out my Instagram, and I'll see you guys later.